Hi, everyone. I'm James Garbutt.
And I'm Denny Dumas.
And this is the Garbutt Dumas Real Estate Podcast.
The strategy list pricing is kind of ever changing. It depends so much on inventory, on what the market is doing, on time of year, on your situation. But early in this year, with very low inventory, you could get away with pricing a home low and multiple offers would take it to market value or slightly above. With more inventory like we are seeing in the spring, depending on product type, depending on neighborhood, depending on street that you're on, it's probably, and more of our suggestions over the last handful of weeks are pricing in line with sales or maybe a touch above what recent sales have sold for. Depends so much on your situation. If you have bought something and you need your place to sell in a few weeks, that's probably going to be just below recent sales. But if you are selling first and you want to achieve this number, pricing low and hoping for that multiple offer crazy bidding war is risky and not happening as much anymore.
Yeah, I think the thing to acknowledge here on the list price strategy is you touched on it, but a month ago to a couple months ago, there was a genuine logic towards underpricing anything, except for maybe condos. But for detached houses specifically and townhouses, just underpricing it, letting the market take it away. The burden of that is you just might get 50 offers and you have to deal with that. But today that is shifted. So really we are talking to you in April of 2021, and the idea of underpricing your listing for that multiple offer situation is more risky than it was before. So examples of a house that's genuinely worth 1.5. Last month, we might say, hey, you know what, price it at 1.399 to get those extra few offers and ensure yourself a better chance of a clean offer. Today, it might be price it at 1.5. If you have a 1.25 home, it might be priced at 1.25 today or 1.99 on the aggressive end, but not too far off of the value. So I still like the idea of, if you have a 1.2, a home that's worth 1.2 and change, to price it under that 1.2 mark, or if you have a home that's worth just over $1 million, to price it under that $1 million mark. I think that's still a genuine strategy today. The only difference today is that if it doesn't work out, if you do slightly underprice your listing, give it at least 6 days on market before you look at offers. And if it doesn't work out, you have to be prepared to try again. You have to be prepared to either increase your price after, if you want that higher number, or take it off the market and bring it back. Either way, it's kind of like a dog with his tail between his legs. It didn't work out and you're a little embarrassed about it.
Yeah. It's very product dependent too. That lower, let's say, entry-level price point for single-family homes, you can get away with a conservative list price still. That mid-tier to upper-end home, you're probably pricing at a number that you want to achieve.
Yes.
You're not, like, the buyer pool is just much smaller when, let's say, New West, Tri-Cities, anything above 1.6, 1.7-ish, the buyer pool is just so much smaller that you can't rely on getting multiple offers and it going above list price.
No, I think I guess luxury would be a real standout option maybe where you need I think it's important to leave a little room to negotiate, unless you have rare, desirable, predictable luxury. Yeah. But if we're talking about a 5,000 square foot Coquitlam house, and there's a lot of them, I would be pricing it a little bit above to leave some room to negotiate, but not, make sure I'm not out to lunch with the competition available in the market.
Remember your classification of homes. So Jamie had 3 levels of homes, A, B, C. A was like great layout, great house on a prime street in a great neighborhood. B is kind of like a good house on maybe a lower quality street in that great neighborhood. C is it has some quirks. Maybe it's on a busy street. Maybe it has a poor layout. Maybe original condition needs updating, whatever it may be. I think that C and lower B house moving forward this spring, you need to tell the market what it's worth. Mm-hmm. That listing low on a busy street has a pretty low likelihood of working out. So we met with someone yesterday who has a good house, but it's on a busy street. So this is, I would say, lower B category. And the strategy and the suggestion for him is tell people what the house is worth and expect to work off of list price slightly. don't count on getting 3, 4, 5 groups that are going to be writing offers on this. And maybe 2 months ago that was different. 2 months ago, maybe that's list 100 grand under what we think it's worth and get 5 offers because the inventory is so low and buyers aren't as picky. But with more product available and a few good months ahead, buyers are being picky again.
Yeah. So in that ABC analogy, C's you price where they should be. B's is that in-between grayish zone.
Yeah.
But the A's, I think, is a good example that an A-caliber property in an A-caliber active price point, and what I mean by that is like a price point like, for example, say under 2 million in a lot of markets, you could still get away with the multiple offer strategy.
Yeah.
You know, the only caution there is just be prepared that there's always a chance it may not work to your expectation.
Yeah.
But I would like to say if you tick all the boxes, you got 3 bedrooms up, you're on that desirable street, and you're not a ridiculously expensive home, let the market take it away still. I think the market's still there for those homes. Mm-hmm. Yeah. And you're more likely to get bidding wars and subject-free offers and everything you want and more.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Let's quickly touch on condos. Townhouses are kind of in the same boat as single family and need to be assessed based on that kind of like ABC condition or that ABC list. If it's in a prime neighborhood and it has a great layout, you can get away with pricing it slightly low and getting multiple offers. Condos are a little bit of a different game, and neighborhood is super, super important. Every kind of sub area of each city in Greater Vancouver is moving slightly different, and the inventory levels are different. With condos, depends a lot on your situation, but in most cases, you're telling people the price point right now. Unless it's like a unique one with a great view in like a prime building that there hasn't been any inventory for a couple months, then you can get away with slightly underpricing. But in most cases in condos right now, in the markets that we work in, New West, Burnaby, Tri-Cities kind of areas, you're pricing in line with where recent sales are or like a touch above that.
Yeah, pricing for condos is far more sensitive than detached, and it really depends on other units available in the building or complex. Mm-hmm. You know, you're wasting your time if you are overpriced and there's other comparable condos on the market that are under your price. Yeah. I guess just touching on evaluating these properties and how to even come up with a list price. I mean, just to share my process, whether I'll give you the detached and condo version of this, but if it's detached, I like to do like 3 things. I go deep historically, directly around the house. So whether that's on the street or within 2 blocks of the house, I may go back 2, 3, 4 years. And then I would look at the sub area in the last, say right now, maybe 90 days to 6 months. And then I would just look at the price point in the last 30 days or 60 days. So what I mean by that is you want to know what's sold around it over a longer horizon. And then you also want to see what comparables have happened in like the last 6 months or more recent history, and then also the very latest 30 days. Mm-hmm. And the condo version of that might be, if you have an O2 unit in a building, go back on the O2 unit sales over the last, say, 2 to 4 years, depending on how many there are. And then you might want to look at all the building or complex sales in the last, say, 90 days to 6 months. And then if you feel that the condo is maybe a $600,000 price point, then you want to look at what's sold around $600,000 in, say, that city or neighborhood. And that way, I like that approach just because it gives me a thorough understanding of a deep history of the product that's closest to it, but also a real understanding of how the market is in that price point right now.
Yeah. I think understand with, if you're listing a condo this spring too, that it is a much more price sensitive, budget conscious market. Single family, often people have a range of, I can spend 1.4 to 1.7. Whereas with condos, people have my budget is $600,000. So understand that when they're looking online, when they're searching for condos, they're setting those price ceilings. So you can take it both ways. You can list slightly low to get under that ceiling, that next ceiling, or you can list slightly higher. So I'll give you a couple of examples. If the last sale in your building of a very similar unit sold for $602,000, it might be the right strategy to list at $599 to get under that $600K mark to get more eyeballs on the property. If that last sale was $637,000, you can probably stretch to go up to that $649 list price because that's where people are looking. They're gonna set that criteria at 600K and below, or 650 and below, whatever it may be. But like if a sale was 637 and you price at 599, maybe a little bit risky.
It's a little risky, yeah, for condos. They're very price sensitive.
Yeah.
Well, Denny, I think that hopefully you get some insight from how to price. Obviously, you need to chat with the realtor. It's case by case dependent. And one other thing to add, lastly, is if you have a tenanted condo, don't overprice it.
Oh boy.
Yeah, definitely keep that price sharp. I mean, or you can experiment with the market. You can come on at a higher price, but don't let it sit on the market and expect a tenanted property to outperform your neighbors.
Seen that a few times.